Good morning, everybody. Ooh, messy hair, y'all. Messy hair. Good morning, good morning, good morning. How's everybody doing? Shout out to everybody in the chat. I hope you guys are well rested. Shout out to everybody. Look at my hair is just like all over the place right now. Shout out to everybody. I hope you guys are having a great Sunday. Man, 8 hours of a Diddy trial, guys, and I was exhausted. Okay. Y'all know. So for those that don't know, I have a stand-up desk. I have a it goes up and down, right? And I said, oh, I'm gonna stand up the whole 8 hours, and I certainly did. Okay. Well, guys, one of the things that we waited for during the sentencing on Friday was whether the legal team was going to make a statement. Once they started removing microphones, we're like, well, no, they're not going to give a statement. Well, it turns out that they did give a statement. I think they exited on the other side of the building of the court hearing. So we're about to get into that right now. And then we got some transcripts. Now, as far as the transcripts go, there is no way that I'll have enough time to read the entire thing. So I figured I'd go to the most, I think, relevant parts that everybody wants to know about. We want to hear Diddy speak, and we want to hear what the judge said verbatim, right? So those are the two things we're going to review today, and that'll give me, a lot of time to review everything that we need to review. But let me just say, there were a lot of bloggers out there that were saying that Diddy's defense team was upset with the ruling. And I would say that so much so that they called the judge the 13th juror. They called the judge the 13th juror. So let's get into this and let me show you what I am talking about. So this is them right here. We waited and waited. They were removing microphones and they did speak. They just waited. I don't know how many hours it was after that they spoke.
Attorneys speaking to the media after he was sentenced earlier today. This is live.
Yeah, we are planning to appeal.
Man, I want to hear them, bro.
We are planning to appeal. We think we have strong bases to appeal.
Yeah.
The strongest basis is that the jury reached a verdict on coercion. It found there was not coercion, and I think the judge said coercion today as a basis for a sentence at least a dozen times. We think that is unconstitutional.
Yeah.
We think that a jury verdict should mean more than our jury's verdict seems to mean, and so we are planning to appeal.
Absolutely. Files a cross appeal. What would happen in that regard if they filed a cross appeal and then Sean Diddy Combs get a higher sentence?
He would not get a higher sentence, and they're not gonna cross appeal. We're gonna appeal. We think we're right, and they'll respond to the appeal, and it'll be decided by the Second Circuit as soon as.
Tell us about the conversation you had with your client after the sentencing.
Consensual. The judge clearly thought the sexual encounters weren't consensual.
Because he's biased.
Make him his remarks.
He's biased.
If anyone, I'm happy to go. So we think that's just absolutely inconsistent with the jury's verdict. I mean, the jury's verdict was resoundingly clear. There was no sex trafficking. There was no racketeering. Everything was consensual. Everything was adult, which is why he was convicted only of the prostitution offense. What we feel happened today was that the judge acted as a 13th juror,
Yes,
one
he
that we
did.
did not choose, and that he second-guessed the jury's verdict.
Well, at least the judge was open.
Ooh, he said what now? Like, again, we missed this part, okay? Because we were live and they're like, well, they're not going to give a press conference. Apparently, they were so upset. They didn't want to face anybody. They were upset. But let me be very clear. Somebody told me who was there who say it wasn't just the defense team that was upset. It was also the prosecution that was upset. They were upset from both sides because they felt like the ruling, like, as an outsider, guys, nothing to do, no, my opinion is one of many, okay? I'm just going to give my opinion. Diddy went from facing life on this RICO to being acquitted from the RICO to having the prosecution recommend 11 years to now it's been right somewhat in the middle, 4 years, guys. So to me, it's like, as an outsider, I think the defense team did what they had to do. I don't feel like the defense team is necessarily like, what's the word? Like, if you wanted a defense team in a situation, they literally saved his life. He will be able to serve 4 years behind bars, and then he'll be able to, spend the rest of his time with his children, right? If the time frame is correct. I'm just saying, okay? I don't feel like it was, what's the word? Like, if he paid for the defense that he got, if that makes sense. That's my thought on that. They were upset because Diddy couldn't go to his, well, they were upset because they really thought that Diddy was going to walk away from this. And I don't know if anybody, not like, if you read those motions, if you read the room and we're not even in the room, it seemed to me that Diddy was going to be there for quite some time, that this was not going to go the way in which people thought. From the beginning, from the time that he was acquitted from the RICO, people said that, guess what? He's going to walk. They have to let him walk on this Mann Act. I'm like, I don't think so, guys. I really, really don't think so. Now, up to the judge's discretion to use whatever information they wanted to use. But the defense apparently was really, really upset with this. They took this as a loss. And I'm like, but you guys acquitted him of the RICO. Like, what is the loss exactly? He went from life behind bars to 11 years to 4. And even 4 is not enough from the victim side, because I'm telling you, if I'm in a DV relationship and you paying people and you making me travel to have, S with different workers, 4 years of your life behind bars is never going to be enough. So yeah, like I'm like, what is the issue exactly? What is the issue? He got the defense that he paid for.
Open-minded. At least the judge was open-minded for both sides. Gave consideration.
Did you have a chance to talk to Sean Combs? Did you have a chance to talk to your client? Can you tell us about the conversation after the sentence here?
How was he?
How's your client?
How will this impact sex workers?
But he's okay.
Push back a little.
But he's okay.
Come on, man.
Stop pushing people, y'all.
Y'all making it a circus now, bro.
Space out. He does feel justice was served, though. He said he takes accountability, and I felt like Diddy definitely took accountability for everything, sir. And I would like to just let you know.
Steele looks so mad. Look at them. You got Westmoreland, Steele, Shapiro, and Agnifilo. They look all pissed. Y'all, like, screenshot this face. They look upset.
That everything was not consensual, sir. Please don't say that. It was not consensual. Even Diddy admitted.
This is the defense team, man. Let's ask him a question.
Yes, but he did allegedly.
All right, Queen. All right, Queen.
Can you talk to us about talking to Sean after this?
I'm not. Obviously, we spoke to Sean. I'm not going to talk about what Sean and we discussed. It's obviously, it's a privilege.
We all feel comfortable bringing.
And tell us what location are you going to
represent?
represent?
No matter which community it impacts.
What are the next steps?
Why weren't the sex workers on trial today?
Hold on, bro.
Where were the escorts? Stop, bro.
Thank you, guys.
The question I heard, what's next?
Oh my God.
Wait.
This is really annoying. They don't even let them talk. Shoot for the Star. Thank you so much for the 1999. My love. Diddy got off a sweet deal. Unlike R. Kelly's doing what, 30 years? Diddy is just scared to be behind those walls. Absolutely. Like, did R. Kelly, of course, that involved minors. Not saying that wasn't the case here, but if you follow the trial, you know that there was not minor victims, quote unquote. There were young people. Cassie was young and everything, young adults. But this case was not what a lot of us thought was going to be. Let's just put this out here, okay? So it was definitely an eye-opener. The judge surprised me too, because I didn't really think of this, but it makes sense now. Under the Mann Act, the victims, it's not just Cassie and Jane. There are also the S workers that are considered victims, whether they agreed to it or not, because they were transported from state lines and everything. So bigger picture, that's what the Mann Act is, and that's what he was convicted of. So yeah, and thank you, Shoot for the Stars, my love, and shout out to everybody. Thank you guys. By the way, let me take like 30 seconds to say I really want to thank everybody here, because you guys really supported the channel. I was like, 8 hours is a long live for me, right? Just so you guys are aware. So thank you so much. Yesterday, I might even go out today again with Baby Bunny. Yesterday we went out and we just had like we just were like, let's just have some fun, and we did. And I just want to thank you guys for supporting the channel and everything that you guys do, because you guys are amazing. But it was exhausting. Friday was very exhausting for me, y'all.
We're going to try and find the right facility for Mr. Combs. We're going to ask the judge to recommend that. We are very serious about pursuing an appeal. So we have a number of things all going on at the same time. I think that's all for
And you got
me.
about 14 days to start doing that?
If my colleagues
Well,
want
you
to
guys
continue to ask questions.
That in motion?
Thank you, sir.
14 days to put that in
Thank
motion?
you, guys. Great job, guys.
Okay.
Sean Diddy Combs' legal team, including
They were overwhelmed. I don't know, like they were asking too many questions at the same time and stuff like that. This is annoying for them. My thing is that yeah, he could appeal. I mean, that's what he's gonna do. That's fine, but does it make sense at this point? I don't know, man.
Mark Agnafilo speaking there. Looked like some of the couldn't tell if those were reporters or some of the people that were in that gaggle getting a little bit testy.
Yeah, they did get a little too much. I would bet that there were probably some of the bloggers and stuff like that. I'm sorry. There's got to be a professional decorum to the situation. I'm just saying. Okay, let's get into these transcripts. All right, so this is where I'm going to read out. Okay, now to start the day, you had Slavic that opened up. You had the judge that looked at the pre-sentencing report and basically said, I'm aligning myself. He told us earlier on during the hearing that he was aligning himself with whatever probation recommendations were going to be, given his number and his history of convictions, or what was there and what wasn't. Okay, there was that. Then you had Agnifilo that spoke, Brian Steele that spoke, Westmoreland that spoke, Driscoll that spoke on just giving the case law and other cases that are comparable. Slavic was the one that took the lead for the prosecution and speaking about, her thoughts and what, why they're recommending what they're recommending. So this is where I'm going to start. As far as the transcripts go, the daughters have spoken, family has spoken. It's very brief when they speak. I really want to get into where Slavic is done, Diddy is speaking, and then it's the judge. Okay, because that'll be good timing for us. It's 156 pages. We're going to start at 130, right around there. Okay, now for those that are members, please note that this right here and other transcripts will be available to you on the rabbit files of the Discord. It's part of the membership's perk. Okay, just so people are aware. All right, let's get it together. Okay, so Slavic speaking. She's going. We're gonna get into, she's about to be done and close. She kind of highlights just what the defense said, Westmoreland, what she said, and here we go. All right. So Steele says, Mr. Combs and others, can we take a brief comfort break before Mr. Combs speak? So this is when Diddy's about to speak. The court says, absolutely. We will take 10 minutes of a break and we'll be back at 4. Okay. Y'all remember we were making like, what's a comfort break? What's a comfort break? We're right here. Okay. All right. The court. Please be seated, says the court. And Mr. Combs, take your time. But whenever you are ready, if you would like to speak, I'm happy to listen to you. The defendant speaks, and this would be Diddy. Now, let me make myself a little bit smaller so you guys can see the transcript as well, okay? Zoom in a little bit here. Okay, thank you. Give me 1 minute. I want to thank you for giving me the chance to finally speak up for myself. One of the hardest things that I've had to handle is having to be quiet and not being able to express how sorry I am for my actions. I want to personally apologize again to Cassie Ventura for any harm or hurt that I've caused to her emotionally or physically. I don't take that lightly. I would like to apologize to her family. I'm so sorry. I would like to apologize to Jane. I didn't mean to hurt you. I'm sorry that I brought you into my mess. I also want to personally apologize to all the victims of domestic violence, because I know that video, that disgusting, despicable video, triggered a lot of people all around the world. Domestic violence will always be a heavy burden that I will have to forever carry. My actions were disgusting, shameful, and sick. I was sick. sick from the drugs. I was out of control. I needed help, but I didn't get the help. Because of that, I can make no excuse. I could really make no excuse because I knew better. My mother raised me better. I was taught better. My faith taught me better. I got lost in my journey of life. I'm not this larger than life person. I'm just a human being. And I be trying my best. I got lost in the access. I got lost in my ego. And because of my decisions, I lost my freedom. Uh, I lost the opportunity to effectively raise my children and be there for my mother. I lost all my businesses. I lost my career. And I totally destroyed my reputation. But most of all, I lost my self respect. I've been humbled and broken to my core. I hate myself right now. I've been stripped down to nothing. I really am truly sorry for all of it. No matter what they say, I want to apologize to my 7 children: Quincy, Justin, Christian, Jesse, Delilah, Chance, Love. I failed as a father. I'm so sorry. Y'all deserve better. To my mother, Mommy, I failed you as a son. I'm sorry. You taught me better. You raised me better. I know to whom much is given, so much is expected. I know I failed my community. Growing up as a kid, I just wanted to be a shining example of what could we do, of what we could do. When I say we as people of color, that we could own our businesses, take care of our own communities, raise our own children, solve our own problems, create our own wealth, take care of our own problems. And that was my mission. And I got lost. I'm not this bad person. I'm sorry to my community for letting y'all down. I want Your Honor to know that if given a chance, people can change. I know I've changed. I know this because there's events. There's sometimes something can happen in your life that no matter who you were before, what you were going through, you get so shaken that it just changes your trajectory. It's just changes you, and it changes you for the better. Sometimes you have to go through life experiences. These are not excuses. I know that I've been changed for the better. I can't change the past, but I can change the future. I asked Your Honor for mercy. I beg Your Honor for mercy. I asked Your Honor for a chance to be a father again. I asked Your Honor a chance to be a son again. I asked Your Honor for a chance to be a leader in my community again. I asked Your Honor for a chance to get the help that I desperately need to become a better person because I don't want to let God down. I don't want to let my family down. They need me. I let them down. They don't have no other parent. I'm scared. They're scared. I'm scared. And I have nobody to blame but myself. Okay, let me take a brief drink, guys. I know I'll never put my hands on another person again. I know that I've learned my lesson. I'm willing to comply with any conditions the court puts upon me, given a chance. When we talk about the possibility of me sharing my story, it's not for a scheme to try to get less time. It's that this story is real. This story is tragic. And if there's any way, I don't have anything else. I have my family. And that's all I need. I don't care about the fame or the money or making records or performing. If there's a chance for me to go into and touch some kids and touch some inmates that I have lost hope, I feel like if Your Honor gives me a chance by sharing that story, that this will have a positive outcome. This will have a healing effect so that at least I could help one person for not ending up like this. I want to say thank you to the jury and Your Honor. Your Honor, gave me the confidence to believe in the jury and to believe that I didn't have to testify. And the jury came and they sacrificed their time, 8 weeks in the summer, sacrificed time with their children, and they weighed the evidence. And I thank them for the not guilty verdicts. And I don't take lightly my Mann Act conviction. I understand the severity of it, and I'm having to deal with the consequences. And I take full accountability and responsibility. Your Honor, I know that the prosecution wants you to make an example of me. I just want you to think about making an example of what a person can do if they get another chance. If you give me another chance, I won't let you down. And the evidence of that are those beautiful children that got up there and spoke for me. Thank y'all. I love you so much. Proud of y'all. I would never, ever jeopardize being in this situation again, being away from my family that needs me. That's my deterrence. I don't think anybody wants to come and be in this position. No matter what anybody says, I know I'm truly sorry for it all. Thank you. The court speaks. Thank you, Mr. Combs. Court speaks. Let's take 5 minutes and we'll come back. Okay? There's a recess. All right. All right. That was Diddy. Now the court is going to speak. Now the court is going to speak. Guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Now, do me a favor, guys. One of the things to support the channel, the free way to support it is by hitting the like button. Please and thank you. I would really, really, really appreciate it. Whew. Y'all ready? Let's get to what the court had to say, okay? The court speaks. Please be seated. So at the outset, I just want to make clear that, Mr. Combs, you're being sentenced for the offenses of conviction, the Mann Act charges here, and not the 1591 sex trafficking charges and not the RICO charge that you were acquitted of. However, the statute that the court is required to follow when sentencing any defendant, 18 USC section 3553A, requires the court, it says, the court shall consider the nature and circumstances of the offenses and the history and characteristics of the defendant. And that's what the court is required to do. And so the court previously noted in section 18, USC section 3661, Congress further made clear that no limitation shall be placed on the information concerning the background, character, and conduct of a person convicted of an offense which a court of the United States may receive and consider for the purposes of imposing an appropriate sentence. And the court has followed those from Congress. As mentioned under 18 USC section 3553A, the court is required to consider the nature and the circumstances of the offenses and the history and characteristics of the defendant. Mr. Combs, I've considered the fact that you are a self-made artist and a businessman who has who has innovated, inspired, and uplifted communities, including communities of color worldwide. The court agrees with the defense and Ms. Westmoreland that your work history, impact on the Black community, and entrepreneurship are celebrated and iconic. That's especially impressive given the early violent death of your father and the trauma that must have left. You have donated your time and millions of dollars to benefit worthy causes, including providing schooling for underprivileged children in New York City. And we saw that in the video. And that is commendable. Your development of the free game course for inmates while at the MDC is impressive. And the court hopes that you will continue to work with those who are incarcerated and expand on that curriculum. Okay, let me stop right here. This is the sentence when we were live and we were talking about. We said, yo, that's it. When he said that, that told me everything. That was like, oh, he's about to be sentenced. He's about to continue that curriculum there because that's what the judge just said right there. Crazy. But okay, let's keep going. There is no doubt that you are devoted to your family, including your mother, your children, your sister, your nephew. And the court, of course, considers all of the collateral consequences of your incarceration and your conviction, including all of the things that Mr. Donaldson mentioned, including the impact of any sentence on your family, including your mother and your children. The court also notes that you have had problems with addiction, and the court is glad to hear that due to your incarceration, you are on the path to beating those demons. The court also understands that that these drugs may have exacerbated your erratic, violent behavior over the years. However, the court has to consider all of your history here. And with respects to the freak offs and hotel nights and your relationship with Miss Ventura and Jane, the court rejects the defense attempts to characterize what happened here as merely intimate, consensual experiences or just a sex, drugs, and rock and roll story. A history of good works can't wash away the record in this case, which shows that you abused the power and control that you had over the lives of women you profess to love dearly. You abused them physically, emotionally, psychologically, and you used that abuse to get your way, especially when it came to freak offs and hotel nights. The defense argument that all of this was unrelated to the offense conduct in this case doesn't hold up. The evidence of abuse and connections with freak offs and hotel nights is massive. I was sitting right here for the testimony from Miss Ventura and from Jane. We read it in text messages and emails. We saw it in the images of gashes and bruises and broken doors. We saw the video of you savage beating of Miss Ventura. Hold up, y'all. All right. Let's keep going, y'all. Had to stop for a minute. Give me one sec. We saw the video of your savage beating of Miss Ventura. This was subjugation, and it drove both Miss Ventura and Jane to thoughts of ending their lives. That is the reality of what happened. With that, we move to the court's obligation to impose a sentence that is sufficient, but no greater than necessary to accomplish the goal of sentencing set forth in subsection A2. First, the need for the sentence to reflect the seriousness of the offense, to promote respect for the law, and to provide just punishment for the offense. These were serious offenses that irreparably harmed two women. Physical harm, emotional harm, and again, psychological harm, the effects of which continue to this day. You applied Miss Ventura and Jane to drugs, forcing Miss Ventura to opioid addiction, which she struggles with even today. The conduct occurred for over a decade with tremendous frequently over that time period. Hold up. The conduct occurred for over a decade with tremendous frequently over that time period. There's a typo here. Why did it happen so long? Because you had the power and the resources to keep it going, and because you weren't caught and you paid for and organized these acts. You were no John. You were more than that. Even if your currency was satisfying your sexual desires instead of money, but the coercion was the same, if not worse. The court next considers a requirement to afford adequate deterrence to criminal conduct. Both specific and general deterrence here required a significant sentence. As for specific deterrence, while you have said here in court that I've read it in your letter that you're sorry, you won't do it again. One one thing strikes me in particular. After Ms. Ventura's civil lawsuit had been filed, detailing many of the things that she testified here in court, after the government had executed search warrants on your residence, after the brutal video of the 2016 beating had been made public, and just 1 month after you issued your Instagram apology, where you said many of the things you said here today, you had another hotel night where you brutally assaulted Jane. As the government describes it, you kicked down 5 doors in Jane's home, lifted her off the floor by her neck in a chokehold, punched Jane in her head, kicked Jane's body, dragged Jane by her hair, and slapped Jane so hard that she fell down. Jane credibly testified to those things. According to her, you said the following: take this effing pill. You're not going to ruin my effing night. You better go there. You're not going to ruin my effing night. Get out there. Suck his D. F him. I don't care. Just, you're not going to ruin my effing night. You asked Jane mockingly, is this coercion? Ooh, hold up. Ooh, let me stop right here. The judge really did say, and listen, I'm not making the verbiage up. It's written in this transcript. He said, you go suck that D. Okay? He said it. My goodness. Let's keep going, okay? Clearly, deterrence is a key consideration. And the court is not assured that if released, these crimes will not be committed again. The court has considered everything that it has heard here in the courtroom and the material submitted about programs that Mr. Combs would engage in, and has considered the analysis of Dr. Kruger and Dr. Kaplan, but those are outweighed by the entirety of the trial records in this case, which the court was here for 8 weeks. And the court saw the testimony and saw the messages and saw the evidence. The need for general deterrence also warrants a significant sentence. These acts of sexual violence are unfortunately commonplace. A substantial sentence must be given to send a message to abusers and victims alike that exploitation and violence against women is met with real accountability. Victims who have the courage to report their abuses and relive the excruciating trauma of that abuse by testifying in court should see their efforts can result in meaningful accountability. That promotes respect for the law, furthers just punishment, all the values that we're supposed to serve today. In terms of the interest to protect the public from further crimes of the defendant, for the same reason, a meaningful sentence is necessary to protect the public from further crimes. In terms of providing the defendant with needed educational or vocational training, medical care, or other correctional treatment in the most effective manner, the court again notes that there are the reports from the doctors, and the court has considered those in determining what the appropriate sentence would be. But again, there are other factors that militate in the opposite direction. The court has also considered the factors in Section 3553A 3 through 7, including in particular the guidelines range and the need to avoid unwarranted sentencing disparities. Weighing these factors, the court reaches a few conclusions. First, the sentence that the government proposes, 135 months, would be more than necessary to comply with the proposes in Section 3553A2. The statute requires a parasimic. Hold up. Let me look this word up, guys. Sorry. I just don't want to say it incorrectly. Never heard of this before. Parsimony. I knew how to say this. Okay. The statute requires parsimony when sentencing defendants, and the court is not allowed to impose a sentence that is more than necessary to achieve the purpose of sentencing. The court agrees that a serious sentence is warranted that reflects the aggravating factors that I have addressed. The profound impact on Miss Ventura and Jane, the time span over a decade during which these acts of ostitution occurred, the fact that these offenses occurred with intimate partners, the evidence of physical violence, and the coercion. But a sentence of over 11 years over the statutory maximum of the sentence on these offenses ran concurrently is not reasonable. Oh, okay. That's interesting. The court observes that in the exhaustive data provided by the parties, while there are some cases with sentences in the range urged by the government, most of these cases involve defendants with more extensive criminal history scores. And they also involve things like murder, minor victims, and expansive ostitution enterprise with numerous victims and the like. Okay. Let me stop right here. This is a very interesting paragraph from the court for the people that are asking why he didn't get 11 years, why he didn't get 10 years. He's telling us right here why he felt like he's looking at the Mann Act, and he's basically saying like this for more of a sentence, a lengthier sentence, you're talking about minors, you're talking about multiple victims involved, and there are here, but the way he sees it, it's like he wants to see, or at least for the Mann Act, there would need to be the expansive ostitution enterprise with numerous victims alike. Okay? So just so people are aware, he's explaining why he's landing on the conclusion that he has. Even the probation department, which took special care to evaluate the aggravating factors here, including noting that the impact that this case has had on Miss Ventura and Jane are paramount concerns, recommends a sentence less than half of what the government proposes. The government recommendation also takes no account of Mr. Combs' mitigating circumstances, such as his lack of recent criminal history, his family ties and ties to the community, his substance abuse and mental health history, which the court has considered. On the other hand, the defense proposal of a 14-month sentence, effectively a sentence of time served, would not be sufficient to comply with the purposes set forth in the statute. Okay. This is why he didn't feel like the prosecution, their recommendation wasn't doing it. He's not feeling like the defense and their 14-month recommendation is doing it as well. Okay. Further goes, which is the other part of the requirement. Just as the government's proposal does not account for the mitigating factors identified by the court and the probation department, the defense proposal does not adequately account for the aggravating factors, the severity of the account at issue, the violence, the drugs, the coercion, and devastation that it caused to Mr. Combs' victims. The defense proposal is insufficient to satisfy the goals of sentencing, including to reflect the seriousness of the offense, to promote respect for the law, to provide just punishment, and to afford adequate deterrence, among others. Here, the data shows a wide variance of sentence below the outlier cases in the range of government's proposal. Hold up, y'all. Give me 1 second. All right, let's keep going. And as the government observes, every case has to be evaluated on its own facts and circumstances. And the facts and circumstances of this case are unique. Weighing all the relevant factors, considering the evidence that the court heard at trial and the information provided by the parties and the probation department, the court determines that the sentence sufficient but not greater than necessary to comply with the purposes set forth in 18 USC section 3553A2 is a sentence of 50 months of incarceration. There you go. That's where the judge landed, okay? That's where the judge landed. Now, hold up. Okay, let's keep going. Sentence of 50 months of incarceration. That's where he landed, and this is page 148. Okay, let's keep going. This is a serious sentence that reflects the gravity of your crimes and conduct. This is hard time in prison away from your family, friends, children, and your community. But you will have a life afterwards, and it provides you with the path towards rehabilitation. The court notes that this sentence matches a sentence recommended by the probation department, which also comprehensively evaluates the facts here. I will now state the sentence I intend to impose, but the attorneys will have a final opportunity to make a legal objection before the sentence is finally imposed. The defendant will be sentenced to a term of 50 months of incarceration. Agnifilo. Hold up. The court speaks to Agnifilo. Mr. Agnifilo, is there a recommendation as to a facility? Agnifilo speaks. Your Honor, if it's okay with the court, can we get that to the court by Monday so we can sort of discuss now in light of the fact that there's a specific sentence that we know about? The court speaks. Yes, there will be a recommendation included that will reflect what you provided the court. Agnifilo. That's right. The court speaks. The court imposes the minimum term of supervised release of 5 years. No objections have been raised as to the conditions of supervised release. The court imposes a minimum term of supervised release of 5 years. No objections have been raised as to the conditions of supervised release. Are there any objections to the conditions? Agnifilo speaks. No, Your Honor. Okay. The court. Mm-mm. You're welcome. The court. The court will impose a mandatory standard and special conditions of supervised release as stated on page 73 through 76 of the pre-sentencing report. Does the defense waive the public reading of those conditions? The Agnifilo speaks. We do. The court speaks. As indicated in the pre-sentence report, as to the search conditions, this is justified by the nature and circumstances of the offense, as well as the history and characteristics of the defendant, and the protection of the public, deterrence, and to prevent recidivism, as stated in the PSR. As to the no contact provisions, again, let's keep going. As to the no contact provisions, again, this is supported by the nature and circumstances of the offenses and protection of the public, deterrence, and to prevent recidivism. As to access to financial information, given that there is a fortitude obligation and a fine, and given the circumstances of the offense, this condition is warranted. The outpatient treatment and outpatient mental health treatment programs are warranted based on the nature of the offense and the nature and characteristics of Mr. Combs concerning his mental health and substance abuse issues. And I think I might have misspoke earlier. I think I said that, well, the court sentence is 50 months. I think I might have said that it was the same as the PSR, the probation sentence. It's 10 months less than the probation sentence. Agnifilo speaks. Yes, Judge. The court. Just to make that clear, the court imposes a fine of $500,000. The maximum provided for each count of conviction. The court has considered the factors under sections 3553A, 3571, and 3572, as well as the guidelines, factors, and ranges. The maximum fine is warranted based on the need to reflect the seriousness of the offenses and provide just punishment, provide for deterrence, and is justified in light of the defendant's immense financial resources, the lack of any financial burden, no other restitution obligation, and the cost to the government of Mr. Combs' imprisonment and supervised release. This is an upward variance from the guidelines, but is warranted given the guidelines does not adequately reflect the severity of the defendant's conduct, nor the defendant's immense resources, which enables his crimes. There is no restitution. The court orders forfeiture of property used or intended to be used to commit or facilitate the commission of the offenses, charges in counts 3 and 5 of the indictment as reflected in the consent preliminary order of forfeiture, which is incorporated into this sentence. There is a special assessment of $100. There is also a special assessment of $5,000 under the JVT Act of 2015. Do counsel know of any legal reason other than those already argued why the sentence should not be imposed as stated? Ms. Slavic? Ms. Slavic for the prosecution speaks. Your Honor, I believe the special assessment should be $200, given that there are 2 counts of convictions. Court speaks. Very well. Any objection? Mr. Agnifilo? Agnifilo speaks. No, Your Honor. Okay. The court says, all right. The special assessment is $200. Thank you. Ms. Slavic says, the court speaks to Ms. Slavic. Ms. Slavic, anything further? Slavic speaks. No, Your Honor. The court speaks to Agnifilo. Agnifilo? Nothing. Okay. The court. And there are no open counts. Mr. Combs, you have the right to appeal your sentence. If you are unable to pay the costs of that appeal, you may apply for leave to appeal in a forma pauperis. You may also apply for court-appointed counsel. The notice of appeal must be filed within 14 days of the judgment of convictions. To both sides, is there any other objection that you have that I have not addressed? Ms. Slavic. Slavic speaks. No, Your Honor. Mr. Agnifilo. No, Your Honor. The court. Is there anything else that either side would like to raise before the court offers some final words to the parties? Slavic says, not from the government. Thank you. Agnifilo. No, nothing, Your Honor. Okay, the court speaks. All right, thank you. I want to speak first to the strong women who came forward to tell the world their stories. Horrific stories, but stories of courage. Miss Ventura and Jane, you've been through abuse and trauma that most of us can't imagine. As Miss Ventura says, the defense narrative that her relationship with Mr. Combs was a great modern love story is false. These are her words. Nothing about this story is great, modern, or loving. This was a horrific decade of my life, sustained by abuse, violence, force, sex, and degradation. To Miss Ventura and the other brave survivors who came forward, I want to say first, we heard you. As Miss Ventura points out, because of the testimony of the women in this courtroom, these horrible acts were made public. And it's not something, Mr. Combs, that you will ever be able to wash away. You will forever be associated with them. So to Miss Ventura and Jane and the other victims who testified here for coming forward, I can only say that I know your families are proud of you and your children. And when they are old enough, they will be proud of you. And I'm proud of you for coming to the court to tell the world what really happened. You weren't just speaking to the 12 folks in the jury box. You were speaking to millions of women out there who have been victims, who feel invisible and powerless and have had to suffer in silence. You gave them a voice. You stood up to power. It's not easy. You told these women and the world that violence behind closed doors doesn't have to stay hidden forever. The number of people who you reach is incalculable. These are millions of survivors out there. Excuse me. There are millions of survivors out there. Most of those people will never speak up about their abuse. The consequences are often tragic, as they were in this case. I know you still bear the trauma of what happened to you. You likely always will. But what you've taught us here by coming forward is that Even if you were a victim, you don't always have to be. Your strength and coming forward are an example for all of us. Nothing about this case was good. Nothing, except for the victims who came forward. As Dr. King taught us, out of the mountains of despair, a stone of hope. Thank you for your courage. Turning to Mr. Combs, I know you feel like you're in a dark place right now, but these crimes were serious ones, and your violence, coercion, and abuse have had devastating consequences for the women involved, women who loved and depended on you. From Miss Ventura, the horrors I endure drove me to have thoughts of suicide, ones that I almost followed through on. What he did to me is always present, but I'm slowly learning how to live my life free of fear and horrors that I endured. But Mr. Combs, you and your family, you're going to get through this. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. These letters, all of those letters that I saw, show that you have a universe of people who love you. Let them lift you up now, just like you've lifted them up for many years. Your mom wrote that you have always been a loving and caring son. Your sister Keisha calls you the emotional anchor of your family. To your son Justin, you have always been there for him every day of his life, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, and in the deepest sense of what it means to be a father. Chance writes that you have always been our foundation, and Delilah and Jesse make clear that you taught us how to become great young women as we grow into adults. And your son Christian, you are the best father you could ever imagine. Quincy writes, Pops has always empowered us to be who we want to be. Even your 2-year-old daughter, Love, when she hears your voice, she lightens up. It is clear how important you are to her sense of safety, happiness, and belonging. Your sister Keisha, citing the words of the Corinthians and Jeremiah, notes this is a chance for renewal and redemption for you. And you've heard a lot about that today. She's right. The things that the women in this case talked about, it's happening all over this country every day, every minute. You have the power to help it stop. The same power that enabled you to hurt these women, you can use it to help others like them. We all have voices, but you have a megaphone. Keisha marks out the path that you can forge today, even during the time you're in prison. Being a champion and uplifting our Black and brown children and communities, reaffirming to them that they can be educated through hard work, be successful, and to help provide the tools and opportunities needed to build stronger communities that you set out to do from the beginning of your career over 3 decades ago. We saw a snapshot of that in the video. But as you yourself said in your letter to me, you've lost your way. But as your friend Karen Lindsay said, there is a true path to redemption here. You have the chance to not only recognize what went wrong, but what can be made right. You will have a chance to show your children and the world what real accountability, change, and healing can look like. And I'm counting on you to make the most of your second chance. With that, the court is adjourned. Thoughts? Man, the transcript hits different than, like, shout out to Inner City Press, but the transcript hits different, guys. It really, really does. Because that was like, wow. In my opinion, I think the judge was more than fair to Diddy. I don't know what there is to appeal. I think the judge is more than fair to Diddy, especially now reading the transcript and considering both sides of everything and what he had to consider, the data that he looked, other cases, all this stuff. Honestly, I think the judge was fair to Diddy. Okay? Just saying. Yes, still feel the same way on Friday, Miss Toby. Okay, good. And Miss Toby's been following, a lot of you guys have been following this case from like the jump beginning. It's a lot better than following through the New York Times. I know when you're reading the transcript. Venus Blue, thank you for renewing your membership. Yeah, the judge, I think, did a fantastic job, but the defense didn't feel that was the case. I think the judge did a fantastic. I have nothing to say wrong about the judge. I think he did a great job considering everything. The fact that in his closing, the judge used all, because Diddy had like 71 plus letters, guys. Okay. The fact that in his closing, he literally he took all of the letters that were written for Diddy and he put them in his closing, you know, in this hearing. He didn't have to say any of this. He basically put the victims their statements out there, but he also used Diddy. And he's telling Diddy, this is your time to really reflect on all of this stuff that has happened, you know, everything, okay? That the fact that the crimes that you committed are huge. And the thing is that it goes back to that question is how do you rehabilitate? How do you rehabilitate somebody who has a lot of resources and a lot of access and influence to people if it isn't for the fact that he does need to spend time behind bars? 4 years in comparison to being in a 10, 11-year relationship where things are abusive and out of control and you're being controlled by money and, you know, you're worried and, you know, an S tape could be released about you and your family's having to get loans to pay that off. Like that was real what we saw right here. Okay. I think he was more than fair for Diddy. So I feel like the defense did the most when they called the judge the 13th juror. I don't know if he was the 13th juror. He very much wanted to make an example, and he did make an example and say, hey, somebody with money and resources doesn't get away with shit. In our country, people with money and resources and a political reach get away with so many things, guys. When are we going to start making examples of the people that violate people that are in position of powers? And then the minute that a judge steps forward and says, I'm going to make an example of you, immediately people want to cry foul about it. Make it make sense. So, yeah, I think the judge got it right. I'm sorry. But at the end of the day, Cassie and Jay and all these people, regardless of how I feel about them, whether I believe certain aspects, whether I had questions about it, there is one thing that money does not buy. It doesn't buy you time. It will never buy you time. You can throw so much money at something, but it will never buy you back the years. It will never buy you your time when you were 21, 22, or 24, whatever, how old she was, okay, when she was in that relationship. She'll never get that back, ever. You could throw so much money at it. You can do so much, but you'll never get time back. That's one thing money doesn't buy is time. That's it. The judge gave his sentence for the crime that he was convicted of. I agree. And Gold Digger, I think that he weighed everything. Now that I read the transcript, especially on the judge's side, that closing part. And by the way, this is my first time really, like I was skimming through it to know where to start reading the part that I wanted to read. And I was really like thinking in my mind, I'm like, what made him, without really looking into this, because I wanted to have a real reaction with you guys. What made him go this way? What happened? Why not 7 years? Because I really thought it was going to be 7. Now, that's just my thought. But when he started weighing into everything, he didn't take Diddy's life, guys. It's 4 years behind bars, and then he has to pay a fine and do all this stuff, right? Like I get that. He could have thrown the book at him and given him 11 years, 10 years, 7 years, and done all that, or even more than that. He was more than fair. So I don't know why the defense feels like he was what's the word? That he was the 13th juror. Why are people upset about this sentence? The same people that are upset are the same people that get upset about the fact that there's injustices. And then when people are held accountable for the things that they have done or whatever, whether you like the victim or not, because that's what it's become. I don't know if I believe her because I don't like the victim. Okay. The judge gave the recommendation. He saw the evidence and he sat there more than a lot of us did. It's the audacity. It's crazy. It's crazy to me that people like really pushed back. You said because it comes to appeal, he has a fair chance of winning. The appeal are slim. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, he could have he said that when he was reviewing the defense, the defense wanted 14 months. It's like, no, it's not fair. How do you make an example of somebody who has violated the laws, right? And this is what stood out to him, and I don't understand. A person that's in Diddy's position who doesn't have resources would do everything to make sure that they don't violate the law. How the hell do you get into a physical altercation with Jane when you're in an active FBI investigation, when they're reviewing you? Who does that? Is it somebody who believes that they're above the law? Or is it somebody that truly is an addict and he was doing all kinds of drugs while all of this was going down? And that's what he's weighing in. And he's like, one thing that stood out to me is that you're facing all these things, and still you over here on a hotel night with Jane, kicking doors, beating her, whether you like Jane or not. And you know what the defense did during the trial? The Jane knew that he was facing all these things. So it's Jane's fault that she provoked him. She provoked him. I'm sorry. But the regular schmegular people that don't have money would not put themselves in a situation where they're going to have a thing that, a hotel night or do something that would allow them to be, for people to go after him. You don't put yourself in that position. But because Diddy has money and access and resources, he's consistently put himself there and does not care. And now he has to care. A regular person would have watched out, said, oh shit, I better be careful. Like, I don't want to violate the law. He showed this. That's what the judge said. He said, you showed your propensity to violence when there was an active FBI investigation on your ass. That didn't deter you. So make sure that if you're going to talk shit about what the judge did or you didn't like it, make sure they read the entire transcript of how he came about that decision. And let's be very clear. The people, look, everybody's entitled to everybody's opinion. Okay. That's right. You're absolutely correct. Do you know what property needs to be? I do not know. It might be houses. I mean, we don't know. He has a lot of properties. I know one of them he bought outright, and I believe that was the Miami mansion. Okay, look at that. He had no priors. He weighted that in. We didn't read the very beginning of his transcript, and the reason why it's because it's boggled down with case law, and I'm not a lawyer, and I can't even explain it to you, right? But what I found it to be interesting is at the very least reading what Diddy said and how the judge came to this conclusion. The people that are upset with the judge for this ruling should really read the entire transcript to understand what he did to weigh everything. I honestly think that, he was fair to the situation, right? Even Cassie's statement to the judge, I mean, some victims don't ever see any justice. She got a little bit here, and some others did too. Some people don't ever get to confront their abusers. Some people don't ever. Some people, it's just not possible, especially people with access and all this kind of stuff. They just don't. Exactly. Thank you, Ms. You got to be humble. And if you think about Diddy's history, now, mind you, he's not being convicted for his history, right? He's not. But the judge can consider everything from this case. You're appealing and you're calling this judge the 13th juror. Did y'all this is intense what he had to weigh, what he did. People say opinions aren't right or wrong. Oh, honey, that's very okay. Everybody's got one. Don't we all have an opinion? You could see his, yeah, he'll be able to visit the kids. Now, let me say this. Prison is not like, I wouldn't wish prison to anybody. I mean, they're boiling water. They got 25. Like, I get it. It's not meant to be comfortable, but he's not going to be at this MDC forever. He's going to be transferred. They're going to decide what facility he's going to go to. And we don't know what facility is going to look like. It might be bad. It might be worse. We don't know. But this is a reality check for somebody. If you truly believe in the judicial system and you want a justice system that's fair, then you got to start considering, okay, like, What are those? What is punishable to you? What does that mean when somebody is punished for the deeds and everything that they have done in life, right? Consider everything. I think the judge did a good job. You know what I mean? Diddy should be grateful. Imagine if the judge amends his sentence to more time and take away time served. Yeah. The judge could have the judge could have said 10 years. Even in this ruling, he said, listen, you'll be able to get back to your life. You'll be able to do it all over again. You'll be able. But this is going to be a chance for you to be clean if he gets clean, because, you know, you can get drugs behind prison too, right? He has an opportunity here. I really do hope that he takes advantage of that and that it's not this like PR movement or anything. That video that they showed was like PR, guys. It was a PR thing that they did for Diddy. It didn't seem genuine. It didn't seem genuine at all to reflect his true character, you know? Yep. Thank you, Morris. He thought he was unstoppable, untouchable, and invincible. He needs a reality check. And that's the reality check that he got. I agree. You know, sometimes people need to be made to hit rock bottom, and this might be it. And I agree, Morris. Thank you so much for the $5. Thank you. The judge did good. He convicted on the charges that were brought against Sean. It's up to Diddy to choose the path. Absolutely. And he's got a lot of support to do it. There's a lot of people that wrote letters for Diddy. There's a lot of people that are upset about this sentencing. People are acting like he's going to walk free. He was facing life behind bars on a RICO, guys. He was facing life. He went from life to the 11-year recommendation to now 4. You can't get any better than this. I'm sorry. I'm just saying, you know, I would be embarrassed by what he did. This is a slap on the hand. There you go. There's some people who feel like he got a slap on the hand. He needs to feel very fortunate to get this little time, do his time and change his ways if possible. I feel like he's a low life. Well, it just, yeah, I mean, I can understand that. So it's like for people to say it was an unfair conviction. No, man, he was more than fair. And for the victim side, they probably feel like 4 years, 4 years, and that's it. And because he's got access and resources, is he really going to change? This man was facing all of this, you know, against him, and he still decided to offend. You know what I mean? He's got children. He will be with his children, you know, in 4 years. He'll be fine. Okay. I don't know why people are freaking out about the sentence. I mean, hold up. You got what's his name? Garagos, you know, and Garagos and him are like really close friends. Okay. TD Garagos was the daughter and she was part of the defense. Diddy's prison sentence way more than he should have gotten, says Mark Garagos. That's what he says.
50 months, frankly, was way more than he should have gotten. I do not think this is one of the better days for the defense, both in the performance and what was presented. I have a lot of issues with the whole thing. I think as you just stated, by the way, I don't think the government is disappointed for a second. I think as soon as they asked for 11 years, what that telegraphed to me is they were worried the judge was going to go too low. So, you know, in negotiation, and it works outside the courtroom, it works inside the courtroom, the mind goes to the middle point. And they figured by going to 11 years, if the judge was thinking time served, he would cut the baby in half. That's exactly or almost exactly where he landed, somewhere between 10 and 1. He landed at 50 months. This is not a 50-month case. I suppose, to quote the judge, if he wanted to send a message of deterrence. You know, my father used to say, my dear departed father and partner, if you want to send a message, use Western Union. That dates him and it dates me. But I just think and you know, my daughter's on the defense and she didn't do much today, but I don't think this was a really well thought out presentation.
So what do you make of the speculation that, yeah, but with time served and, you know, that this is just his first act, he could get this down and he may serve as little as 1 more year?
There's a possibility of that. I mean, if he makes smart moves And if he does and gets, the big issue right now is where is he going to get designated? And what that means is the BOP, Bureau of Prisons, is going to do an analysis. They're going to take the PSR, which is.
So, I mean, we don't know. He might be behind a really shitty prison, or he might be behind. And like I said, I believe that, him being in prison, he is a target, right? Like, people, I could believe all of it. I could believe that he's a target. I could believe all of that. That it's not just like R. Kelly. R. Kelly was a target and has been a target in prison. People get at him all the time. But R. Kelly has been able to make it every day. That man is facing 30 years, and his crimes are a lot more severe. So I don't even want to make a comparison, right? Because his involved minors, and it was pretty extensive. But yeah, I'm just like, okay.
The pre-sentence report. They're going to take the minute order and the sentencing sheet. They're going to crunch those things. They're going to then decide, where are we going to put them? They will take into account, and one of the reasons I think that Tenny asked that they hold that until Monday, they take into account where the judge recommends. Yeah, Tenny is my daughter, exactly. And they take into account where he recommends. That does not bind them. But where he goes depends on a lot of factors and what programs are available. You can cut off a lot of time depending on the programs you're going to do.
So this isn't over yet, but I get your take on this.
It's not over, but let me give you.
You've been saying this for a while.
Let me give you two other thoughts. Yeah,
please.
Let me give you two thoughts. Number one, I think, and as soon as he said today, the sentencing guidelines were 70 to 87, I said, well, that's not good news. When I said he's going to go lower now. And the reason I knew he would go lower is those sentencing guideline calculations are fraught with constitutional danger. So by going lower, substantially lower than the low end of 70 months, going 20 months lower, he insulates himself from an appeal on that. But he still has the appeal on the Mann Act application. So this was intellectually diabolical by the judge.
Intellectually diabolical. See what I'm saying? They are mad. Now, let me go. This is Emily Knows Everything, who was there, and she talked a little bit about what was going on. She says neither side is happy. Prosecution doesn't think the sentence was long enough. Yeah, both sides. Prosecution was not. When I talked to somebody, they told me, oh, they're not happy, and neither is the defense. Nobody's happy.
You guys, the lawyers are pissed. Diddy's attorneys are pissed. I just caught a conversation, and they are complaining about the verdict. They are now all out to dinner together, sour looks on their faces. I mean, that was the only time we did not see Brian Steele smiling as he came out of the courtroom. I think those lawyers really thought Diddy was going to walk today. And the reality is, the judge said, nope, not today. They're pissed. I mean, the looks on their faces right now, I've never seen anything like it. Like, where's the big smiles? The guy went from facing a life sentence to getting probably only going to get actually like 2 to 3 years by the time it's all said and done, maybe less. So I'm very confused as to why they are this sour. But yeah, they are definitely taking this as a major L. I hope that they enjoy their dinner. You guys, the lawyers are pissed. Diddy's
like, I hope that they enjoy their dinner. Yeah, they were pissed. That's what I'm saying. They were not happy at all. Diddy knows he's facing more charges. And that's, I hope not for his sake, but I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if that's the case, because, man, you got all these, and there's still more lawsuits coming through with Diddy. We don't know if any of them are what's going to happen next, but y'all, you guys let me know what you guys think in the comments, okay? No one cares what you think, Mark Zippit. Y'all don't like Mark. I think he's going to get federal charges from, well, I don't know about the Little Rod lawsuit. I wish Little Rod would have gotten a different lawyer. Y'all know I do not like Tyrone Blackburn at all. I think he's messed up a lot of cases, in my opinion, for a lot of victims. He's just not a good attorney, so I don't know what he's going to get. And don't forget, Tyrone Blackburn got exposed during the Diddy trial, okay? Who was it that was testifying that said that she hired Tyrone Blackburn and she had to fire him? Tyrone is a mess. He did not look good during the Diddy trial whatsoever. I don't know what there is about him. Yeah, you guys missed that? We read those transcripts. It was from Bana Brianna Bangolo. Bana. It was Bana's testimony. It wasn't Mia. It was Bana. Bana was on the stand, and she talked about the fact that she got a lawyer. Matter of fact, it was Westmoreland who was cross-examining her, and she got a lawyer, Tyrone Blackburn, and Tyrone was like, "Well, I'll do this pro bono," and then he started changing, and making demands on his own. That's what he did. So yeah, like, I don't know about Tyrone Blackburn and everything that he does. Just saying, I don't like him. Hunt's Lover, thank you so much for the 999. Sounds like Diddy's attorneys are entitled as their client. I would agree with this. Hunt's Lover 3. Honestly, to call the judge the 13th juror is ridiculous to me. But see, like Agnifilo, when he wrote, listen, I may have a lot of questions about Mia's testimony, and I do. I don't know how I feel about some of the Mia stuff that she was saying, the scrapbooking lady and all this other stuff. And, I may have it, but I'm not going to write a letter essentially calling her a liar. And even the judge he said it in the transcript too, that was so inappropriate. She was supposed to testify at the sentencing, and she basically said that she wasn't going to because she felt bullied. Agnifilo wrote that letter about Mia. So yeah. Hunt's Lover, thank you so much for the 999. All right, guys, I'm gonna let you guys go because I got to get my day going. I might be live later, but y'all check your notifications because I'm getting more information on the David situation. I really hope. I haven't heard anything about there not being a service or anything like that for Celeste, so we're gonna keep an eye out on that. But I will see you guys later. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Of course, if anything pops open, we'll definitely be live. Okay. I'll see you guys later. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. And let me know what you guys think in the comments. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to agree with the judge. Hell, you don't have to agree with anything. But as long as you have your opinion and you let me know what you think and explain it in the comments, that would be amazing. Thank you for this. I do have a video coming up on this, but I'm waiting. There's some information that I got. I'm waiting. Okay. Like I said, I don't like making up news about the Haros. It's a very delicate situation. All right, I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.